The Galactic Empire laughed at Earth until one man changed everything. Earth was not ready when the aliens came. It was the year 2150, and humans were still fighting against rising seas and harsh weather. They had sent people to Mars and built a small base on the moon, but that was all. The big dreams of star travel remained just dreams. The ships appeared one morning, huge and silent above every major city. They did not attack. They simply waited, hanging in the sky like metal clouds. World leaders rushed to meet in emergency talks while people filled the streets, looking up with fear and wonder. 3 days later, they spoke. The visitors called themselves the Galactic Empire, rulers of over 300 star systems. They had been watching Earth for decades. Now they felt it was time to make contact. "We offer you friendship," said the Imperial ambassador, a tall being with pale blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand. "Your world is young. We can help you join the greater community of worlds." Dr. Alan Carter watched the broadcast from his small lab at the Global Space Initiative. Unlike most people, he did not feel hope or relief. He noticed how the ambassador smiled when talking about Earth's simple technology and limited understanding. "They're talking to us like we're children," he muttered to himself. The Empire offered Earth limited trade and access to what they called appropriate technology. Devices that seemed amazing to humans, but were considered outdated by Imperial standards. In return, they wanted mining rights to the asteroid belt and permission to build bases on Earth. World governments, eager for alien knowledge, quickly agreed. No one wanted to offend the powerful visitors. Within months, Imperial advisors were in every major research center and university. Alan Carter was assigned to work with an Imperial scientist named Keldar. Each day, Keldar would review Carter's work on energy physics, nodding politely before explaining why Carter's ideas wouldn't work. "Your understanding is impressive for your species," Keldar would say, "but you're approaching this the wrong way." Carter noticed something odd, though. Whenever he made real progress, Keldar would redirect him to a different project. It happened too often to be chance. One evening, Carter stayed late at the lab. He accessed Keldar's computer when the Imperial was gone. What he found shocked him. The Empire had classified Earth as a resource world, a planet to be controlled and exploited, not helped. The technology they shared was carefully chosen to keep Earth dependent on Imperial goods. Worse, there were notes about limiting human scientific advancement in key areas, especially energy production and faster-than-light travel. The Empire didn't want Earth becoming independent. Carter copied the files and hurried home through the rain. His small apartment was filled with books and homemade equipment. Unlike most scientists, Carter had taught himself physics after growing up in a refugee camp. The academic world had always looked down on him for his lack of formal education. Now he stared at the stolen files, anger growing inside him. The Empire saw humans as primitives, just smart enough to be useful workers, but too dangerous to be given real knowledge. "They're laughing at us," he said to the empty room. "They think we'll never figure it out." Carter looked at his own research notes, spread across his desk. For years, he had been developing a theory about energy conversion that his human colleagues called impossible. But what if it wasn't? What if the Empire knew his approach might actually work? He made a decision that night. He would continue working with Keldar, playing the role of the obedient human. But in secret, he would push his research forward. The Empire thought Earth was just another primitive world to control. Alan Carter was about to prove them wrong. Alan Carter's life had never been easy. Born during the resource wars, he lost his parents when their refugee camp was bombed. He grew up alone, surviving by fixing broken electronics for food, while other children played. Alan studied old science books he found in abandoned libraries. By the time he was 20, Alan had taught himself advanced physics without ever attending a proper school. He created his first energy converter from scraps in a junkyard. It didn't work well, but it was enough to get him noticed by a scout from the Global Space Initiative who was looking for unusual talent. Your approach is completely unorthodox, Dr. Eliza Murray had told him during his interview. That's exactly what we need. But at GSI, most scientists looked down on Alan. They called him the junkyard genius behind his back. His ideas about energy conversion seemed crazy to them. He believed that the standard models of physics were missing something fundamental about how energy moved between dimensions. Now, 6 months after the Empire's arrival, Alan was more isolated than ever. He kept his true work hidden, knowing that Keldar was watching him closely. One rainy Tuesday, a woman knocked on his lab door. She was tall with dark hair tied back tightly. "Dr. Carter, I'm Lisa Ortega from the Diplomatic Corps. I've been assigned to the Imperial Liaison Office." Alan nodded cautiously. "What can I do for you, Ms. Ortega?" "I need to understand their technology better. My superiors suggested you might help explain it to me." Something in her eyes made Alan trust her. Over coffee in the GSI cafeteria, their conversation slowly turned from official business to personal concerns. "Do you ever feel like they're not telling us everything?" Lisa asked quietly. Alan studied her face before answering. "I know they're not." That meeting began their secret partnership. Lisa had access to Imperial documents through her diplomatic work. She began smuggling technical information to Alan, specifications for Imperial ships, details of their energy systems, and scientific papers. Late one night, reading through Imperial quantum theory, Alan discovered something remarkable. The Empire's understanding of subatomic interactions had a blind spot. They had developed their technology following one path of physics while completely missing another. "They don't see it," Alan whispered to himself. "Their whole civilization built on one approach, and they never questioned it." His hand shook as he compared the Imperial documents to his own theories. The missing piece he had been searching for was there. The Empire didn't understand how energy could be drawn from what they called null space. For weeks, Alan barely slept. He filled notebooks with calculations and built small test devices in his apartment at night. When one test created a tiny energy fluctuation that his instruments could barely detect, he knew he was right. "I need to show someone," he told Lisa during their next meeting. "Not yet," she warned. "The Empire has spies everywhere. If they realize what you've discovered, they'll shut you down immediately." "Why would they care so much about keeping us down?" Alan asked. Lisa handed him another document she had smuggled out. "Because of this. It's their classification system for civilizations. Any society that develops null space technology is immediately reclassified as a potential threat. The Empire has destroyed worlds for less." Alan stared at the document, understanding flowing through him like cold water. The friendly facade of the Empire was just that, a facade. Underneath was fear. Fear that younger civilizations might develop in ways they couldn't control. "I need equipment," Alan said firmly, "and somewhere private to work." "That's dangerous," Lisa replied. "More dangerous than letting them control our future forever." Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "I might know some people who can help. But Alan, if we do this, there's no going back." Alan thought of Earth's submission to the Empire, of Keldar's condescending smile, of all the human potential being wasted. "I never planned on going back anyway," he said. Lisa kept her promise. 3 days later, she introduced Alan to 2 people in a quiet corner of a small coffee shop downtown. Kevin Ward was a stocky man with calloused hands and a background in engineering. Natalie Harris was younger, with bright eyes, and a genius for computer systems. Both had worked for GSI before the Empire came. "We're all taking a huge risk," Lisa said quietly. "If anyone finds out what we're doing." "I've been watched by Imperial security since they arrived," Kevin said. "They don't think much of Earth engineers. That gives us an advantage." Natalie nodded. "They think we're too simple to be a threat. Let's prove them wrong." That evening, Kevin led them to an abandoned mining facility 30 miles outside the city. The entrance was hidden behind overgrown bushes, and the tunnel stretched deep underground. "My grandfather worked here," Kevin explained. When they shut it down, he kept the access codes. I've been storing equipment here for months. Inside, they found a large cavern that Kevin had converted into a laboratory. Old mining equipment had been repurposed. A primitive power generator hummed in the corner. It's not much, he said, but the rock above us blocks any energy signatures from being detected. For weeks, they worked in secret. Alan refined his theories while Kevin built the components for what they now call the Carter Drive. Natalie created a computer system to control the delicate energy flows. The Empire's approach to quantum physics ignores the connection between dimensions, Alan explained as they worked. They treat null space as empty, but it's not. It's filled with potential energy that can be tapped if you understand how to create the right resonance pattern. The first test nearly killed them. When they activated the drive, energy surged through the system in ways they hadn't predicted. Lights exploded and the cavern shook. "Shut it down," Kevin shouted over the noise. Natalie managed to cut the power, but not before the drive had produced an energy reading 10 times stronger than they expected. "We need to adjust the containment field," Alan said, staring at the readings in amazement. "It works. It actually works." The next morning, a man in a plain suit was waiting outside Alan's apartment. He showed a badge that identified him as Frank Daniels from the Earth Intelligence Agency. "Let's take a walk, Dr. Carter," he said firmly. As they walked through a nearby park, Daniels spoke quietly. "We detected an unusual energy surge last night. Nothing like we've seen before or anything the Empire has shown us." Alan's heart raced. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't insult me, Doctor. We've been watching you since you accessed Keldar's files. We know about your hidden lab." Alan stopped walking. "Are you going to shut us down?" Daniels looked around carefully before answering. "No, the opposite, actually. I need to know if what you're building could give Earth an advantage." "More than an advantage," Alan said, lowering his voice. "The Empire's technology is powerful, but it has limitations they don't even realize. What we're developing could change everything." "Can you prove it?" "Give us 2 more weeks." Daniels nodded slowly. "You have 1 week. Then I need to see results." That afternoon, an Imperial Oversight Officer named Sental visited GSI. He asked pointed questions about Alan's whereabouts and recent work. "Dr. Carter seems distracted lately," Sental said to the facility director. "The Empire values his contributions and would be concerned if his focus has shifted to unauthorized research." Lisa called Alan immediately after hearing about the visit. "They're getting suspicious. We need to move faster." "We also need more resources," Alan replied. "We've taken this as far as we can with what we have." "What do you need?" Alan took a deep breath. "Something only the military could provide, and we're running out of time to get it." Lisa arranged the meeting for midnight at an old bunker that once belonged to the Air Force. General Susan Wright arrived alone, wearing civilian clothes instead of her uniform. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes missed nothing as she studied Alan and his team. "Frank Daniels says you have something that could change our situation," she said without greeting. "You have 15 minutes to convince me." Alan nodded to Kevin, who opened a metal case containing a small device about the size of a coffee cup. It hummed softly when activated. "This is a miniature version of what we call the Carter Drive," Alan explained. "It generates clean energy by tapping into null space, what some people use to call the space between dimensions." General Wright frowned. "We've been told repeatedly by Imperial scientists that such energy collection is impossible. They believe that because they've never done it," Alan said. "Their entire civilization developed along a different scientific path. They're advanced, but they have blind spots." Alan placed a standard power meter next to the device. When he connected them, the meter's display flashed and then showed an error message. It couldn't measure the energy being produced. "The Empire has kept us dependent by giving us outdated technology, while blocking our own development," Lisa added. But they never expected someone like Alan to approach physics from such a different angle. General Wright watched silently as Alan demonstrated the device's capabilities. Finally, she asked, "What do you need from me?" "Access to materials we can't get on our own," Kevin replied. "And eventually, a secure facility to build something larger." "How much larger?" "Large enough to power a spacecraft," Alan said. "One that could outperform anything the Empire has." 2 days later, military trucks delivered equipment to their hidden lab. Soldiers set up security perimeters disguised as environmental monitoring stations. Work that would have taken months was completed in weeks. The first prototype spacecraft was small, barely large enough for 2 people. It looked crude compared to the sleek Imperial vessels. But its heart was the Carter Drive, now scaled up to power a ship. "The Empire thinks we're building improved weather satellites," General Wright told them. "Their oversight is focused on our main facilities. This project doesn't officially exist." The test flight was conducted at night in a remote desert area. Alan insisted on piloting the craft himself, with Natalie handling the drive controls. "Remember, no communications after launch," General Wright instructed. "We can't risk the Empire detecting transmissions." The small ship rose silently into the night sky. Unlike conventional rockets or even Imperial shuttles, there was no flame or exhaust. The Carter Drive created a field that simply pushed against gravity itself. Inside the cockpit, Alan watched the instruments in amazement as they accelerated. "We're past Mach 3, he said. "How's the drive holding up?" Natalie's fingers danced across her control panel. "Power output is stable. We could go much faster if we wanted to." Alan pushed the ship higher until the blue of Earth's atmosphere gave way to the blackness of space. In less than 15 minutes, they had achieved what once took massive rockets hours to accomplish. "Taking us around the moon," Alan said, adjusting their course. The craft responded instantly. The moon grew larger in their viewport, and soon they were circling it. The entire trip took less than an hour. When they returned to Earth, General Wright was waiting with Lisa and Kevin. "It works better than we hoped," Alan reported. "The ship can outperform Imperial vessels in speed, maneuverability, and energy efficiency." "Can the drive be adapted for other uses?" the general asked. Alan nodded. "The energy field could be focused to create a defensive shield. Or," he hesitated, "it could be modified to become a weapon." "We should focus on defense systems first," Lisa suggested. "The Empire has been increasing their military presence in our solar system over the past month." "They know something's happening," Kevin added. "They just don't know what." General Wright looked at each of them before speaking. "Imperial Command has announced they're sending an additional protection fleet to Earth next month. Their official reason is to ensure our safety from outside threats. But really they're coming to tighten their control," Natalie said. "How long do we have?" Alan asked. 3 weeks, the general replied. "Can you have defense systems ready by then?" Alan exchanged glances with his team before answering. "We'll have to be." The Imperial fleet arrived earlier than expected. 17 massive warships appeared just beyond the moon's orbit, their sleek hulls gleaming in the sunlight. Each was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons. Earth's few orbital platforms looked like toys in comparison. Admiral Zarvex of the Imperial forces broadcast his message to all of Earth. "We have detected unauthorized energy signatures from your planet." His voice boomed through every communication device. "Such technology is restricted for primitive worlds. We come to ensure compliance with Imperial regulations for your own safety." In the underground command center, General Wright watched the transmission with Alan and his team. Translation: "They're here to shut us down," Lisa said bitterly. General Wright turned to Alan. "Are our systems ready?" Alan took a deep breath. "We've equipped 6 ships with the Carter Drive and basic defensive capabilities. We've also installed planetary shield generators at key locations around the globe." 6 ships against 17 Imperial warships, Kevin muttered. "Not great odds." "It's not about the number," Alan replied. "It's about what they can do." The Imperial fleet sent down a single shuttle carrying Admiral Zarvex himself. He demanded an immediate meeting with Earth's leaders. "We know you are developing prohibited technology," he said, his tall figure towering over the human representatives. "This is a serious violation of Imperial protection protocols. You will surrender all research materials and the scientists responsible." The president of the Global Union looked nervous but held firm. "Earth is a sovereign planet. We have the right to develop our own technology." Admiral Zarvex laughed. "Rights? You have no rights except those the Empire grants you. You have 6 hours to comply, or we will begin orbital strikes on your research facilities." As the Admiral returned to his fleet, Earth's small defense force prepared for action. 6 modified ships, once ordinary space shuttles, now powered by Carter drives, took position in low orbit. Alan sat at the control center with General Wright. "The key is to keep them from coordinating their attacks. Their ships are powerful, but follow standard Imperial tactics. They've never faced anything like our technology." The Imperial deadline passed without Earth's surrender. Immediately, 5 Imperial warships moved into attack formation. "They're targeting our major research centers," Natalie reported, watching her screen. "Energy weapons charging." "Activate planetary shields," General Wright ordered. The Imperial ships fired. Brilliant beams of energy streaked toward Earth's surface, but instead of destruction, they hit invisible barriers that shimmered briefly on impact. "Shields holding," Kevin announced. "They didn't expect that." Admiral Zarvex's voice came through again, now angry. "This defiance will not be tolerated. All ships, full attack pattern." The Imperial fleet surged forward. Earth's 6 ships rose to meet them. "Now we see if your drive works as a weapon," General Wright said to Alan. The first Imperial ship fired on one of Earth's small vessels. The energy beam struck a shield similar to those protecting the planet. Then Earth's ship released a pulse from its modified Carter drive. The pulse hit the Imperial warship and simply passed through its shields as if they weren't there. The Imperial ship's lights flickered and went dark. It drifted, powerless. "The pulse disrupts their energy systems," Alan explained. "It creates an opposite resonance to their power source." One by one, Earth's small fleet engaged the massive Imperial warships. Not all attacks succeeded. 2 Earth ships were destroyed by concentrated fire, but by the end of the first hour, 7 Imperial vessels drifted powerless, and the others had pulled back. Admiral Zarvex demanded to speak directly to whoever was responsible for Earth's new technology. "This is Dr. Alan Carter," Alan said when the communication was established. "You have committed a grave offense against the Empire," Zarvex snarled. "Surrender yourself and your research immediately." Instead of answering, Alan sent a signal. Moments later, the specifications for the Carter drive began broadcasting on all frequencies to every nation on Earth and throughout the galaxy. "The knowledge belongs to everyone now," Alan told the Admiral. "You can't stop it anymore." On screens around the world, people watched as Imperial ships began retreating from Earth orbit. For the first time in history, humans had stood against the Empire and won. News of Earth's victory spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Empire tried to block communications, claiming the reports were lies. But the specifications for the Carter drive had already reached too many worlds. The secret was out. 3 weeks after the battle, the first messages arrived from other civilizations. They came from planets that had been under Imperial control for centuries. Some were advanced societies forced to limit their growth. Others were resource worlds like Earth, kept dependent and weak. "They're all asking for the same thing," Lisa told Alan as they reviewed the messages. "They want our help." Alan had barely slept since the battle. His small apartment was now filled with security guards. The Empire had placed a bounty on his head, making him the most wanted man in the galaxy. "The Empire won't just give up," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. "They'll regroup and try again." General Wright entered the room with news. The Imperial Senate has called an emergency session. They've demanded Earth send representatives to explain our actions. It's a trap, Kevin warned. They'll arrest anyone we send. Maybe, Lisa said thoughtfully. Or maybe they're genuinely scared. The Carter Drive threatens their entire power structure. After much debate, Earth's leaders decided to accept the invitation. Helen insisted on going himself, along with Lisa as a diplomatic expert. Their ship, now equipped with advanced versions of the Carter Drive, could reach the Imperial capital in just 3 days, a journey that normally took weeks. The Imperial Senate was housed in an enormous crystal dome on a planet called Centaurus Prime. Thousands of representatives from Imperial worlds filled the chamber. Earth's delegation was given a small platform near the bottom, symbolizing their low status. High Chancellor Daltech addressed them first. Earth stands accused of developing forbidden technology and attacking Imperial peacekeepers. How do you answer these charges? Lisa stepped forward. Earth was defending itself from Imperial aggression. We developed technology on our own that the Empire tried to suppress. The question is not what Earth did wrong, but why the Empire fears progress. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many senators had never heard anyone speak so boldly to the High Chancellor. Alan moved to a central position. I request permission to demonstrate the science behind our technology. Let Imperial experts examine it for themselves. This is highly irregular, Daltech protested. Are you afraid of what they might find? Alan asked. The challenge couldn't be ignored. Imperial scientists were called to examine Alan's equations and a small working model of the Carter Drive. After hours of tests, the lead scientist addressed the Senate. The principles are sound, he admitted reluctantly. The human has discovered an approach to energy generation that our science overlooked. The Senate erupted in chaos. If the Empire's technological superiority was no longer absolute, what justified their rule over so many worlds? As the debate raged, messages arrived from 5 star systems on the Empire's outer rim. They were declaring independence, inspired by Earth's example. Their ships had already been modified with versions of the Carter Drive. This is insurrection. Daltech shouted over the noise. Order must be maintained. An older senator from a world called Lyra stood up. Perhaps it is time for the Empire to evolve. If one small planet can develop such technology independently, we must reconsider how we treat developing worlds. More senators joined in agreement. By the end of the session, 17 systems had formally requested a new relationship with the Empire, not as subjects, but as equals. On their return journey to Earth, Lisa looked out at the stars passing by their view screen. It's happening faster than I expected, she said. The Empire has stood for over 1,000 years, and in just weeks, it's beginning to transform. Alan nodded, because it was built on control, not cooperation. And control only works when one side has all the power. Their ship's communication system chimed with an urgent message from Earth. More Imperial hardliners had gathered a fleet to punish the rebellious worlds. Earth would be their first target. They're not giving up without a fight, Alan said grimly. Did you expect them to? Lisa asked. No, Alan admitted, but neither are we. The final Imperial attack came at dawn. 50 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled, appeared in Earth's solar system. They bypassed the outer planets and headed straight for Earth. This was not a mission of conquest. It was meant to be a message to the galaxy. Earth had to be destroyed to show what happened to worlds that defied the Empire. What the Imperial commanders didn't know was that Earth wasn't alone anymore. As their fleet approached Mars orbit, sensors detected multiple energy signatures appearing around them. 30 ships from 7 different worlds materialized, all equipped with Carter drives. The coalition forces have arrived, General Wright announced in the command center. Earth's own fleet, now 20 ships strong, moved into position. Admiral Renva, commander of the Imperial fleet, sent a message. This is your final warning. Surrender the Carter technology and its creator, or be destroyed along with your allies. No one replied. Instead, the coalition ships formed a defensive sphere around Earth. The battle began with a massive Imperial barrage. Energy weapons fired from all 50 warships at once, creating a web of destructive force. Coalition shields flickered but held. Then the counterattack began. Ships powered by Carter drives moved in ways the Imperial vessels couldn't match. They appeared behind Imperial warships, fired, and vanished again before the Empire could respond. The modified drive pulses disabled Imperial systems one by one. In the command center, Alan worked frantically with Natalie and Kevin to coordinate the defense. They had connected their system to control the planetary shield that now protected Earth. 10 Imperial ships disabled, Kevin reported. Our losses are minimal. But the Imperial commander was learning. The remaining warships formed tight groups, protecting each other from the disabling pulses. The battle slowed to a stalemate. We need something more, Alan said, studying the tactical display. The planetary shield generator. Can we reverse it? Natalie looked up sharply. Create an outward pulse instead of a barrier. It's never been tested at that scale. We don't have time for tests, Alan replied. I'll need to go to the main generator. Despite objections, Alan and Kevin took a shuttle to the shield generator station. Under fire from Imperial ships, they worked to reconfigure the massive device. If this works, Kevin said as they made the final adjustments, it will affect everything in orbit around Earth. Our ships know to shut down their systems for 10 seconds when we give the signal, Alan replied. The Imperial fleet won't have that warning. General Wright's voice came through their communicators. Imperial forces are breaking through in Sector 7. Whatever you're planning, do it now. Alan looked at Kevin, who nodded. Together, they activated the modified generator. The pulse was invisible but powerful. It expanded outward from Earth in a perfect sphere. Coalition ships went dark momentarily as planned. But the Imperial fleet, still firing their weapons, experienced something different. As the pulse passed through their ships, energy systems overloaded and failed. Within moments, the entire Imperial fleet drifted powerless. 2 days later, a message arrived from the Imperial Senate. The military hardliners had been removed from power. The Senate was proposing a new galactic structure, a true coalition where all worlds would have equal representation. 1 month after the battle, representatives from 27 formerly Imperial worlds gathered on Earth to sign the coalition charter. Earth was chosen as headquarters not because of its military victory, but because of Alan Carter's insistence that the technology be shared freely. The Carter drive doesn't belong to me or to Earth, he told the assembly. Knowledge shouldn't be hoarded or controlled. Lisa, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, proposed creating the Galactic Science Academy, where researchers from all worlds could work together. The Empire fell because it tried to control knowledge, she said. The coalition will thrive by sharing it. 5 years later, Alan stood on the observation deck of the newly completed academy. Ships from dozens of worlds moved through Earth orbit. Students and scientists from across the galaxy filled the campus below. Did you ever imagine this? Lisa asked, joining him at the window. Alan watched a group of young people, humans walking alongside beings from worlds he'd never heard of before the Empire came. Not exactly this, he admitted. I just wanted Earth to be free. I never planned to change the galaxy. Lisa smiled. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest beginnings. One person who refuses to accept limitations.